Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to the conversation. So, today I'm going to be talking about my man PG and the Claw, Kawhi Leonard. And the question is, will Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have the last laugh at the end? So that's what I want to get into in this video today. Now, we all know with the suspension of games in the NBA because of this mysterious illness, this pandemic that's going around the world, really, in the sports world. So it caused the NBA to sort of have a pause in its play while they figure out a solution before games start coming up again and all of this. Now, prior to that happening, the season was actually pretty interesting. The Clippers had seemed to hit a stride. They've actually had won 7 out of their last 10 games, and they were doing pretty good. They were able to take control of the number 2 seed in the Western Conference after trailing for so long. I think at a certain point they probably dropped down to the 4th or 5th seed. I'm not too sure. And a lot of people out there like Nick Wright and others are saying that. I told you the Clippers aren't what you guys thought they were. Y'all were drinking the Kool-Aid and I didn't really see what was going to happen. I hope you guys are happy with what you guys are seeing right now. And there were a lot of issues with Kawhi Leonard missing games, and they had a lot of injury issues, and they never were able to play with their full roster for most of the NBA and most of the regular season. At this point, thus far, depending on when you're watching this video, the Clippers have played, I believe, 12 games with their complete roster together, and they came off a loss. They came off a loss against the Lakers, and they were able to bounce back and get a win to get back on track. So they've been hitting their stride, and they've been doing pretty well. They beat some solid teams, and most of the issues that they had, as I said before, had to do a lot with the lack of availability of their players. Patrick Beverley was in and out of the lineup. Kawhi Leonard was there, and to the credit of Doc Rivers, he said after All-Star break, the team needed to get their act together, and the same thing, Kawhi Leonard said the same thing. Ever since he made those comments, the team started picking up their play. Now, I think that it goes beyond just making comments. I think you also need your players to be able to, to perform for you. It's like, hey, saying, I'm going to run a marathon, and you think you just use your mouth to say it. You actually have to be ready to do so, be in shape to be able to go out there and perform. And I think that with them having a complete roster now, I think Kawhi Leonard can actually rely on his instructions to his team and say, okay, let's go get it, let's turn it up, and that can actually be a real possibility. Doc Rivers told, the press that he said from now on he wants to start getting Kawhi Leonard into playoff mode and playoff shape. So what's been happening is he's now making him take on the most difficult, defensive assignment by guarding the best perimeter player on the opposing team. And he's done a really good job playing against people like John Moran, Devin Booker, and others. Obviously, he went against LeBron, and LeBron James is a unique matchup. So LeBron was able to score, I believe it was 28 points when they faced each other. But but then again, that was just one game. So Kawhi Leonard has been hitting his strides and putting up good numbers. And Paul George has recently come back into the fold. Now, Paul George had, coming off the offseason, he had some shoulder surgery. Now he's back, and throughout the season, he's missed a good amount of games. He's only played about 42 games this season because he's had some hamstring issues. So Paul George hasn't really been himself. If we compare him to last season he was averaging about 37 minutes a game, scoring 28 points a game, shooting 44% from the field, also shooting close to 39% from the three-point line, getting you 8.2 rebounds, 4 assists, and getting you 2.2 steals a game. So that's what he did last season. This season, though, he's averaging roughly 29 minutes a game. He's scoring 21 points a game, 5.7 rebounds, and 3.9 assists. But he's still shooting 88% from the free throw line, shooting virtually 40% from the three-point line. But his overall field goal percentage is down to 43%, and his steals are down. Now it's down to 1.3 steals a game. Now, Paul George is a very integral part of the success of the Clippers, and he has said, in the last games, he said, my offensive output is really going to make a difference with the team. And that's why when you saw him play against the Lakers, he was able to show everyone that, look, on any given night, he can be the best scorer on the floor. Now, Paul George is beginning to get back into his stride, and I think he needs to start producing a little bit more. But the question is, though, will PG and Kawhi Leonard have the last laugh at the end? Which brings me to Kawhi Leonard. Now, Kawhi Leonard this season is averaging 27 points a game, 7.3 rebounds, and 5 assists. These are all career highs for him, especially with the points and the assists. He's played about 51 games this season, and he's averaging about 32 minutes a game. Now, granted, Doc Rivers is beginning to ramp him up with his play. He's beginning to play a lot more games. He's shooting 47% from the floor, which is really, really high if you consider the fact that Kawhi Leonard takes predominantly most of his shots are coming from the perimeter. He's shooting 37% from the three-point line, and he's attempting 5.7 three-pointers a game, making just over 2 a game. He's shooting 89% from the free throw line, and he's getting you about 1.8 steals a game. So again, he's having another stellar NBA season. But now, if we're going to project forward going into the playoffs, the question is, will the Clippers or PG and Kawhi Leonard have the last laugh? Well, I think a lot of that has to do with their bench production. So if you look at Landry Shamet, for example, this season he's played 47 games. He's giving you basically 9.7 points a game, which is 10 points a game, getting you 2 rebounds a game and 2 assists a game. If you look at Montrezl Harrell, who is probably one of the best 6 men in the NBA, him and Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell is getting you about 18.5 points a game, 7.1 rebounds, and 2 assists. And this dude is coming off your bench. And of course, you have Lou Williams, who is a consistent contributor, although he didn't do so well. But with the pickup of Reggie Jackson, he also can shore up some things with their bench. If Lou Williams is not really scoring, because Reggie Jackson can pick up some of the scoring load. Of course, you have Patrick Beverley. Now, Patrick Beverley's predominant role on the team is not to score, although he can hit a spot-up three-pointer. But I think his main objective is to run the offense and play some good defense. Now, he didn't have a good showing against the Lakers. I think he only scored, I think he didn't even score any points that game. But on a regular basis, you can count on Pat Bev to get you between 7 and 10 points a game. Now, if we look at Kawhi Leonard's productivity in the playoffs last season, as I said, last season he had one of the best playoff runs pretty much ever. He scored 30 points a game, played 39 minutes a game, which is basically 40 minutes a game. So for a lot of people that say Kawhi Leonard doesn't like to play games, he generally takes his play up to another level. And I think this season he's probably going to be averaging around 38, 39 minutes a game, in the playoffs. Last season, he shot 49% from the field, basically 50% from the floor in the playoffs, which is actually more efficient than his regular season shooting percentage currently. Last season, he shot 38% from the three-point line, attempting just about 6 a game, and making 2.3 in the playoffs. Shot 88% from the free throw line, got you 9.1 rebounds and 4 assists and 1.7 steals and 0.7 in blocks. So I think Kawhi Leonard has everything that it takes with the way that he manages his body throughout the regular season to be able to produce on a really high level. And to be quite honest with you, I think he's playing on a better team with more scorers. Now, granted, the team that he played with the Toronto Raptors had a system that had been in place. It's just that they needed the right player to be able to take them over the hump. But with Paul George now as his running mate instead of Kyle Lowry or Pascal Siakam, who ended up being the most improved player in the NBA at one point, and he's gotten considerably better this season, I still think that Paul George is a better complement to Kawhi Leonard than Pascal Siakam, for the simple fact that Paul George provides more spacing on the floor because he can hit spot-up shots, he can hit the three-point shot. And this season, he's shooting about 40% from the three-point line. And I think if these two guys play off each other really well in the playoffs, which I think they do, because they play off each other really well, they don't need the ball, either of them, to be very effective. The two of them are really good at running an offense. PG is really good at initiating an offense because he has great ball handling skills. He's about 6'8", so he can see over a defense really well. Same thing with Kawhi Leonard, who's about 6'7". So both of them have really good height. They have really good ball handling skills, and they'll be able to work off of each other really well. Both of them can finish plays. They're also very lethal with a live dribble when they catch the ball and make a decisive move to either score or facilitate or whatever it is. They're both really adept at doing that at a high level, and I've seen them do that quite over a consistent period of time. Now, the question is, though, will they have the last laugh? And I believe they will. And the reason is, I'm going to rely on the leadership of Kawhi Leonard to be able to see Paul George to the finish line. A lot of people acknowledge that Paul George is an exceptional basketball player. Last season, he was in the top 3 in MVP votes. So Paul George is not a scrub. It's not that it's if that he can't play, he can't score, he can't play defense. He's one of the most elite perimeter defenders in all of basketball. And dare I say, he's probably the second best perimeter defender, probably right up there with Jimmy Butler and some others, but Paul George is really, really good at defense. So I don't think his defensive game is going to lack in any way in the playoffs. I think that Kawhi Leonard is going to be a calming force on PG in the playoffs, and is going to be able to help him to stay even keel and just perform, not really worry about carrying the team, but instead just being the best within his role. And I think that they're going to have a lot of success in the playoffs. And I think at the very end, these two guys are going to have the last laugh. And I think it's something that they thought about when they decided to pair up together in the offseason and really combine their powers together to really do well. Again, the Clippers are a very, very solid team. They're top 5 in scoring, top 5 in rebounding. Obviously, they're not top 5 in blocks. That will be the Lakers, because the Lakers have more length. They have taller players. Nevertheless, I think the Clippers are the most versatile team in the NBA. They can play you small ball. They can play you if you want to play a big game. They can do that. They have all of the players and all of the pieces to be able to do so quite efficiently. So I think that they're in a good position to perform really well. And I do think in the end that the Clippers, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, are going to have the last laugh at the very end of the season. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you agree with me? Do you think that they're going to have the last laugh in the end of the regular season? Or do you think it's going to be another team, or maybe I'm just wrong altogether? Whatever you guys think, please let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you haven't followed us on our Dreamerspro Podcast, make sure you do so. We're on Spotify and iTunes. Let me just say that the content that I cover on the podcast is quite different from that what you're going to see on YouTube. So you're going to be getting more exclusive content. So you should definitely go check us out there, because we just want to make sure we constantly feed you guys great information. So the name of the podcast is the Dreamerspro Podcast. Make sure you check us out and let us know what you guys think about that. And again, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.